Noon, whatever time of the day it is with you. I hope that you've all had a good start to the weekend. If it's weekend, hopefully it might be weekend when you're watching this. If it's week, good luck. Hopefully it's not a Monday. Okay, I'm going to continue with the series of the question paper of 2022. I'm going to do question 5 and question 6 today, and tomorrow I will do the question 7. Obviously, I want to keep myself fresh as well. I'm a little bit out of practice when it comes to long sessions of writing, so I am not going to try and do it all at once, but I am going to walk you through it. So we are going to start with, let's start with this one. Okay. So just a reminder, if you go, you'll see that I upload these up onto YouTube. Okay, you'll see there's ones for marketing, there's professionalism, ethics, there's microenvironment. I will upload HR as well. I will upload as many of the videos as I can. So you will always have something to refer to and come back to if you should need it. Okay, sometimes you don't have Teams open on your phone or your Teams isn't working. YouTube works on everything. So I'm happy to do it on there for you. Okay, obviously, if there's a specific topic, go onto the YouTube thing and leave a comment on the YouTube video specific to that question. Obviously, if you're thinking of it straight away, you're always welcome to message me personally. But if it's on there, I'll see that there's a comment and I can respond to it there. Okay, even if you're not from my school, I don't know if this will be shared with other schools. Okay, if it is, I'm happy for it to be shared. So please, I just want to quickly stop sharing so I can get across there. Okay, I'm happy to answer any of your questions if you come from another school, if you're perhaps from some of the King schools I know or whatever. Okay, please don't feel like you have to just wonder about something. If you've got a question, ask me and I'll be happy to do so. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so obviously yesterday we finished with question 4, and question 4 was not too bad. But now we're back to question 5. And now we see when we think so, the supermarket strategy at a glance. What is their main goal? The main goal is to be the first choice brand in the community they serve. There's their vision. The purpose is to do and be more. Their values are entrepreneurship, family values, and passion. Okay, so if entrepreneurship and family values, okay, those are the two main ones. So let's see what they ask. So they ask us to define entrepreneurship, and let's see how many marks. Just click 2 marks. Okay, so what's an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is a person who's able to satisfy the needs of those around them. So let's refer that back to entrepreneurship, is the ability to see a need within a community and organize the resources available to satisfy this need. If I was a matric marker, that would be an acceptable answer. Obviously, there's a lot more. You can say a lot more than that if you want to. Okay, so hopefully I've made it a little bit so that you can actually read nicely what these answers are. So if you take a screenshot. Okay, so the ability to see a need within the community and organize the resources available to satisfy this need. You can also talk about the planning, organizing, leading, controlling, okay, the ability to lead others and to create an environment where others are willing to follow their dreams, to create resources, make money, whatever. Okay, you can say whatever you want there. But for 2 marks, try and have. So for me, there's my first mark is a need with the community, and the second mark is for organizing resources. 2 marks, try and say 2 things, get it out the way. Okay, what are 3 entrepreneurial things is you've got to be a risk taker, for example. Okay, you've got to be creative, maybe. Okay, you've got to be passionate. You've got to be organized. Okay, you've got to be a leadership most of the times. Okay, with this type of question, don't overthink it. Get 3 characteristics, get on. Okay, you don't have time to waste. But for that type of question, and always with the question 4 and 5, first 2 marks are to try and get you into the question. We're about talking about entrepreneurship, so let's see where they're taking this next. The next thing is how they should conduct professionalism and ethical business practices to ensure that they are the first. So let's say how. Okay, that question of how, we've got to give them an action. Okay, so let's say they say professional and ethical business. So let's start with a quick definition of professionalism. So how does professionalism differ from ethics to the employees of a business conduct themselves in front of clients or their peers. The expected behavior. So let's ask ourselves, where do we find the expected behavior? Needs to published in the code of conduct. So because we said code of conduct, we said published, there's an action they can take. What else can we do to ensure professionalism goes in? Okay, managers should lead by example. There's another action, and create a culture where professionalism is emphasized. Okay, they need to have it, they need to make sure that it's emphasized. Okay, so let's say how many marks is it? It's 6 marks. So let's say we get 1 mark for the definition. Okay, the first is brand and communities. So let's say 1 mark for the mission. Okay, published in the code of conduct is a 2nd mark. Lead by example, 3 marks, and the culture of professionalism is emphasized, 4 marks. Okay, let's say something. The core values of a business and the expected behavior to remain within these values. So let's say, how can we do it? Training can be offered to ensure that staff are made aware, and now flex your knowledge a bit, of an ethical acts like insider trading or a conflict of interest. Why? Because a lot of times unethical acts only happen not because people are malicious, but because they are, I don't want to say not knowledgeable, but they're not. They don't know what it is. If I didn't teach you in grade 11 or grade 11 what a conflict of interest is, would you know what it is? So no. Okay. So let me ask you this question. What is the question? What can we say that, and they are willing to speak up on it? So making sure that businesses are willing to speak up on it. Okay, and insider trading. And what do we call that if you want to get the extra marks? So let's make sure we get our 6 marks. Okay, whistleblowing. Okay, that's one of the things we can talk about. It's whistleblowing. So for 6 marks, it's just, you don't have to write a whole long paragraph. Okay, there we go. So professional way in which we emphasize on business contact with peers, there's 1 mark. Expected behavior needs to be published in a code of conduct. 2, managers should lead by an example and create a culture where professionalism is emphasized. So there we talk about culture. Okay, 3, ethics. So please don't worry about my spelling. My spelling is not the best at the moment because I'm talking and typing at the same time. The first to the core values of a business there, I'll give you a mark. And the expected behavior to remain within these values. Okay, training can be offered to ensure that staff are made aware if an applicant like insider trading or conflict of interest occur, and ensure that people are willing to speak up, whistleblowers. Okay, if you want to get an extra mark, make sure that whistleblowers are protected if you want to get that extra mark to go that extra mile. And not just say whistleblowing. I'm obviously going to shorten a bit because I'm talking now, but you can say whistleblowing needs to be protected. Okay, so the next question. Employees at SPAR are fighting over issues based on assumptions, egos, negative notions, and other unimportant matters. Okay, straight away, what are the 2 types of conflicts? We know it is functional versus dysfunctional. So obviously when egos get in the way, we know it is dysfunctional conflict. Okay, we're not going to waste time, we're going to go straight on it. Okay, but explain the possible impact that this type of conflict may have. So ask yourself, if you have impact, what does it have? Okay, it means it means that people don't work together. And what does that mean for the business? When employees are, but again, let's look at the mark allocation. Then we've got a good idea. Again, it's 6 marks. We've got to say something a bit substantial. This function, the conflict, comma, this could lead arguments thereby. So what's the problem for the business? If we are arguing and you're working, it leads a reduction in productivity as there is minimal, so let's use our terminology again, synergy within the group. So one is because when they're fighting, it's synergy in the group. And ask yourself, when fighting happens, what does it also lead to? It means to this will also mean that time is wasted dealing / managing let's say resolving the conflict, and energy is wasted among employees. Obviously, when you have to deal with conflict, it's energy that's wasted. Constant bickering. What does it mean if your friends are always bickering and may also reduce the morale? Again, we now use our terminology within the business, and therefore reduce the and therefore reduce the amount. Well, let's use our HR knowledge, the retention of employees. Why? Since we know they're unhappy and we lose the morale. Okay. What it may also mean is, so let's see what else. If we have constant conflict, what does it mean? Okay. If there's constant dysfunctional conflict, who senses this conflict? Okay. Customers do. Customers may also sense the conflict and may therefore decide to no longer support the business. It might be, I might be writing a bit too much, but you can go ahead. Okay, and there's some other things that let's see what else they bring up. So there's other things that might be shown. Okay, but there, I've already drawn that. So let's say, and make recommendations on how to manage the conflict. So there's a second part. I thought there wasn't enough to really get to 6 marks. So what can they do? Is they can build, let's say, posted to ensure that staff are compatible with one another and familiarity is built amongst staff. Constant communication, obviously, how do you deal with conflict? Is you talk to everyone, okay? Is needed to ensure that the business is able to see the various perspectives of all custom employees and help them reach a compromise. when arguments arise. So you can decide. You can say, when arguments arise, we need to compromise. You can talk about avoidance. You can talk about accommodation. You can talk about the CCMA if it really becomes an issue. You can bring a CCMA in there because it's a conflict resolution strategy. Obviously not ideal, but still strategy nonetheless. Remember, business is not always dealing in ideal. Ideal is perfect world, but we don't have a perfect world. So we've got to sometimes prepare for the worst and tell them this is an option. Not the best option, it's an option though. Okay, so try and think outside of the box there. Okay, and do you see, I use my knowledge. I talk about retention, I talk about communication, I talk about compromise, I talk about bickering, I talk about morale, I talk about a reduction in reduction in thing. I talk about dysfunctional conflict. Okay, so make sure that you use your terminology well. If you know a word, use it. Why? As a marker, I'm like, this person knows what he's doing. Okay, you might not know left from right, but it looks like you do. So trick them if you have to. Okay, an example of internal recruitment. Okay, so an example of internal recruitment is referrals / promotions / transfer. Okay, internal recruitment is someone within your business, so you've got to do it. So we've got to do an advantage of internal recruitment and a disadvantage of external recruitment. So do they just want one? So let me talk you through a couple. Okay, this one's going to be a bit difficult to write, but I'll try. Okay, so please note an advantage of internal recruitment. So the most recent one, employees are all really familiar with business structure and therefore require less help in visioning. Okay, see how I don't say no help because it might still help. It is also cost efficient and is less or more time efficient. Yeah, you're obviously only going to write one, but I'm going to give you as many as I can think of. You also all know you already know their capabilities. Okay, so any one of those would have worked. Remember, internal recruitment in your own business. So think to yourself, think of your school, for example. Okay, if you had to get a new teacher and you got an external person, they don't know the work, they don't know the people you work with, so they sometimes need a little bit of help. Okay, so you need to think, bring it back to your own workspace at least. Okay, the second one is they ask you to provide an example of external recruitment. Okay, that is something like headhunting, a walk-in, a website, a recruitment agency outside of the business. Anyone outside. Remember walk-ins? I was a walk-in at the school where I am currently. Okay, I literally went in and gave me my CV and I said, okay, cool. If you ever have a post open, let me know. I had an interview. Okay, and what's the disadvantage of it? So obviously you can't use the opposite of the other. Okay, but I'm going to use the ones that I spoke about earlier. It is more time and cost is higher. Okay, it takes time to find the right customer. You are unfamiliar with their capabilities. As much as you can find everything on a CV doesn't have all information on it. So you don't know them, whatever. There's a longer adjustment period. Okay, all of these are things to consider. Okay, obviously you'll talk in more detail in that sense, but you can talk about any of this for 2 marks. Okay, any 4 steps in the selection process. So 1, okay, what's the first thing that you do is selection of applications. What do you know an application of? Is your CV. Okay, the second one might be something like, don't overthink it, think short. This thing. The one that my kids really like always saying is, what do you do after that? You do a background check. Okay, but even before that, what might you do as well? Okay, and then after the background check, you might do an interview. Okay, any of these are things. You can also say aptitude test. Okay, you could say medical test, but medical tests aren't always required or always legal, only if it has something to do with your job. For example, you're only allowed to do a medical test if you want to be a pilot. Okay, why? Because your physical health dictates your ability to actually deal with the job, the requirements of the job. Okay, so you're not allowed to do it if you want to become like a CEO or whatever. Okay, so let's have a look. Here's a little thing about Karabu. She has a gross salary, she has monthly deductions, she has a pension fund, she has UIF, and she has a medical aid fund. Okay, SPAR contributes to the gross salary, the pension fund, and the medical aid fund, as well as UIF. Which one of these do we know that they have to do? So this UIF doesn't tell us much, but the fact that they give us a pension and a medical aid tells us that this is a cost plus benefit and not just a thing. Okay, so the cost plus benefit package, the reason you know it is a cost plus benefit package is fringe benefits such as medical aid and okay. Along with the what's a fringe benefit along with the gross salary. Okay, what else? Explain the purpose of the UIF as part of Karabu's or Karabu, not Karabella, sorry, Karabu's package. So UIF is an insurance fund which an individual may claim from in the event that they become unemployed in the near future. Okay. 2 marks. Okay, it's an insurance fund which an individual can claim from should they become unemployed within the near future. Okay, what are fringe benefits? It's things that are beyond the salary. So ask yourself, some of you think, what do your parents get? Some people get travel allowance. Some people get maybe gift cards if you work at a specific thing. Okay, some people I know get a petrol card. Another is medical aid. Another is you get travel allowance, petrol card. Okay, some of you get discounts. Okay. Items, whatever. These are all fringe benefits. These are things along with the salary that you might get. Okay. There are some others, but you can always think. Okay. And what is the total thing of employing Karabu? So remember, what is an employer? An employer is, first and foremost, the gross salary plus the contributions. Okay. So it's this gross salary plus 5% of the pension fund. Okay. Which is 5% of 1,500, whatever that is. Let me see the answers there somewhere. Right. In a sec, it's going to find it quick. I just want to give you the answers. I don't want to do the whole math now. Okay, there's unemployment. Okay, employee discounts, below market things, cafeteria subsidies, whatever. Okay, so you take that, the monthly salaries at 5% plus the other two, you work it out. It's just a quick calculation. Nothing too much to stress about. Okay. The last one says, explain how brand extension could serve to achieve Brown's vision. Okay, so what is brand extension? Is when a business offers a new product that is similar to the original products. Okay, so it's when they're provisional. So let's think, what are SPAR cells? SPAR stars, meat, whatever. Therefore, if SPAR decides to, for example, offer a halal butchery within their stores and brand it as halal spa, they are catering needs of the residents within their communities and ensuring that they remain the number one choice. The reason I use halal is because it's something I deal with on a daily thought. I'm always thinking when I have friends over or whatever, because I do have a couple of Muslim friends. Okay, it's something that came to mind for me is that if we can remember spa does meat, then halal meat's not very different. You just source it from different places. Yes, it is a little bit trickier, but you source it. It's the same product. It's still meat. It's still a butcher. Okay, but it's now product extension. Okay, and the first community, if your community is a moving community and you extend the brand, okay, to cater to that community and you make it known as part of the brand, okay, you now are. I'm using an example that is relevant to you. If you are predominantly Christian, you can say that they are, especially clothing brands. Nowadays, you can say that there are a lot of Christian clothing brands where they extend their brands to include Christian themed ones. Okay, in Muslim, you can talk about kurtas. You can say specifically brand extending to do kurtas, for example. If you are Jewish, you can talk about it that way. Whatever you are, bring it in as a marker. We are not allowed to judge you on it. If we don't know about it, we ask. Okay, I'm very happy to ask, or most people would be. Okay, and most people will not be judgmental on it. Use your frame of reference. Again, if you're a sports person, say a brand extension might have been that Mr. Price, we're going to Mr. Price Sport. Okay, they noticed that they are in a very sports-centered community, that people were in need of sport clothing, so they made a plan to deal with it. Okay, that's what you got to think about. Okay, use your frame of reference. Okay, what should they consider when building their brand? Okay, the one thing I would say is try and be inclusive. Okay, think to yourself, what makes a good brand? Okay, its brand it has to be inclusive. Okay, you have to think of your awareness. How are you creating awareness? You've got to think of your creativity, for example, I would say. Okay, you've got to think of your creativity. You've got to think of your USP, for example. What's your unique selling point? What's your budget? All of these are things you can consider. There's no right answer for that one. Please, especially question 4 and 5, the last one, they love asking you something that's going to make you jump. You're going to have a heart attack. I remember last year they asked, what are the 2 consumer ideals that you can talk about? The one is buy it or don't buy it. Okay. Okay. Identify an element of the marketing mix. You know, there are 7, hopefully. Okay, so which one am I going to do? So that's Spark and Influence and Share Marketing Mate supports Spark. Okay, let's do the one that no one ever does. Okay, it's physical evidence. Remember, physical evidence is everything. So remember, it's product, place, process, all of that. Okay, so ensure that the layout of Spark is neat and tidy, that it is easy to access all files, and that the business is in a position and that the business is clean. Make sure that the uniforms of staff are easy to identify, and that the signage is as clear as possible. Okay, there you go. You're talking about make sure that the layout of the spa is neat and tidy, that it's easy to access all aisles, and that the business is clean. Make sure that the uniforms of staff are easy to identify. Okay, and that all the signage is clear as possible. Okay, these are things, how do you make sure they build the brand? Okay, so you make sure that everything is up to standard. Okay, the other one we can say is, let's say, price. Okay, so let's say the price that Spar likes to use, I quite like, is bundling. Spar together, for example, buy 2 Nivea products. This could also be part of promotion. Free, or make use of psychological pricing, like $199.99. Okay, all of this, you can talk about promotions. This is quite easy marks. Make sure you're getting them. Okay, use again the two you're most familiar with. Don't think, oh, I'm going to use physical evidence that's going to impress the market. If you know product and product's the easiest one, talk product. Okay, don't try and outdo yourself and think, oh, I'm going to be so clever and these marketers are going to be so impressed with me that I talk about process and no one ever talks about process. Okay, no one talks about process because process is boring. Okay, use the one that you know the best. Okay, and that is question 5 done. I don't know how long this has been. Okay, it's been 32 minutes. Okay, it's taken me 2 minutes more than it should. Okay, and this is me talking to you, writing more than I should. Okay, I want to show you that this thing can be done in less than half an hour. Okay, 25 minutes in, out, boom, bam, thank you, man. Okay, and I've even been talking a bit in between. Okay, listening to what my WhatsApps are coming through, if you can hear it. Okay, sorry, just had to answer WhatsApp there. Okay, but let's go on to question 6. So question 6, a Pick n Pay is committed to dealing with legal entities that apply ethical and legal requirements in their interactions. Okay, discuss any 2 reasons that they would be substantially fair for dismissing an employee. I love this question. Okay, so the first reason we have is incapacity. Okay, incapacity. Okay, but let's see. So the 2 that they're talking about that are really, okay, let's give a definition. Refers to the scenario where an employee is dismissed due to not being able to meet the required standard of the business. Okay, so that's the one thing. However, the one thing with incapacity is the firm has to show that they took reasonable steps to help the employee and has to make sure that the expected tasks are reasonable and within the capabilities of the employee. Should these criteria be met and the employee still not be able to meet this requirement, it may lead to their dismissal. Okay, there's one. Okay, so it's 1 mark. It's a 10 mark question. I saw it earlier and I was quite surprised that I was that much for it. But it's 1 mark for incapacity. Okay, 1 mark for not meeting required standards. However, the firm has shared reasonable steps to help. There's 3 marks already. And has to make sure that the expected are reasonable. 4 marks within the capabilities. Should have been not 5 marks. So we're at 5 marks already. Okay, the 6 mark we can get there 4. The second one is either retrenchment or misconduct, but misconduct is a lot easier. Okay, don't know what it's doing there. Yeah. Okay. Should an employee caught trying to break the rules slash code of conduct they may be fined for misconduct. However, the rules must clearly visible and must be known to the employee. The firm should ensure that the rules are consistently enforced or so. Okay, so 3 things are always that it is, and I'll show you now where it stands here. You'll see it'll be right now. This next one. Okay, so poor work performance. Okay, so it has to prove that the requirement is fair, that the employment requires standards, and okay, you can always do dismissal as well. Okay, you have to failure to meet these standards, poor health. Okay, misconduct. So let me hear that in. Okay, I just want to talk in. Okay, they have to fail to adhere to it, so it could be any of these, but okay. I'm not looking, I'm just looking for something. Okay, but there you see, there's also this one. The last one is the restructuring of a department. If you have any losses, that is also the third one, but there's not very much to say about that one. So my advice to you is try taking the others. So let me just quickly share this up again. Sorry, my computer screen sometimes doesn't want to work with. Okay, but we'll make it work. Yeah, so do you see for this question, make sure you choose the one you know the best. If you're not that operational, okay, make sure you talk about it. Okay. So with a protected strike, okay, a protected strike is when you have the permission, okay, is when employees meet with the, okay, so explain each of the activities that may happen when employees meet with the trade unions and then refuse to complete work until they are happy with the changes made by the employer. Okay, you can also okay, so you can always make sure that they talk about this one. Okay. For this one as well, you can talk about things like, for example, strike is legitimate and procedural requirements are complied with prior to the knowledge. Okay, and the lockout is when the employer stops you from entering. So this one I'm just going to walk through because it's just going to take a bit of time. But the employer prevents employees from entering the workplace. Okay, so a lockout is, and let me type it. So just to make sure that you believe me and that you don't just read the answer there. Okay, so a lockout is actually the thing when the employer stops employees from entering the premises to hopefully stop any actions from taken and forcing them to compromise. Yeah, so they're forcing you to compromise. Picketing is almost the same as a strike, but picketing is striking in a formal setting in order to try and gain sympathy in those around you. Yeah, so there it is. So when you say the first situation where they demonstrate in the public outside of the workplace, and it may happen. Okay, and it's when when a sympathy strike is when one company strikes to help another strike. Okay, so sympathy strike is working with you, and let's say you agree with the cause, the nurses are striking, and then the doctors decide, okay, we'll strike with them. Okay, this is not an example that will ever happen, but let's say, for example, the tellers are striking, and then the packers decide we'll strike with you. Okay, means that they strike with you. Okay, so describe the requirements that pick and pay would need to consider for an insurance contract to be valid. Okay, so the first one is you have to be of contractual capacity. There are four, so let's discuss all four. Okay, meaning that a contract signer must be of relevant age and must be sound of mind when answering, when applying for a contract. So that's one, contractual capacity. The second one is insurable interest, meaning that the insured must prove that they have something to lose when insuring an item. Okay, the next one after contractual capacity is absolute good faith. Okay, the insured and insured must in good faith and be transparent in all dealings that may affect the contract. Yeah, if you're a bad driver, you've got to make it well known. You can't lie to them. The other one is proximate cause. Okay, the insured will only cover the claim of the original cause of the accident, for example. So if you have fire insurance and an earthquake happens, it's not covered. Okay, and then you've got to have that type of insurance. You can't just say, "Oh no, we've got it." So there's absolute good faith, there's insurable interest. Okay, so things that you can prove that you can lose, contractual capacity. Okay, any of these can be happened. Okay. Okay, so now they ask, next question. What they ask us is, so what are some, I think it's discussed the advantages of insurance. Okay, how many marks is it? 3 or 4 maybe? Excuse me? Good. So for 8 marks, the first is it gives you, let's use our things. The first thing is it is peace of mind. Insured has peace of mind. Protection against financial losses. Should anything happen, the business has the peace that they can claim back any losses. Okay, so business has the peace of mind and that they can claim back from any losses. I just want to see what else they're thinking of. Okay, because peace of mind, cashback bonuses. Okay, this is a bit of a strange question. Okay, it's a cheaper way to doing. Okay, they can transfer some of the risks. Okay, I have no idea how they get 8 marks out of that one, and I don't quite agree. You can't really ask that much more. But then again, just think outside of the box. Try and give your own answers for it. Okay, don't be flustered. Okay, try and just think, why does one have insurance? It's cheaper. You rather than having to pay it out, you got the peace of mind. Okay, you get the financial losses, all of that. Okay, so just think a little bit out of the box there. Okay, so name 4 types of non-compulsory. For example, fire. There's crop. There is fidelity. There's home insurance. Okay, there is property insurance. Okay, there is business insurance. There is cash and transit insurance. All of those are ones that you can talk about there. Okay, risk return and investment on timeline as part of the. Okay, risk return on investment and timeline is part of that. Using these 3 criteria, evaluate various investment options that they should consider for 12 marks. Okay, so we need to do at least 12 marks. So let's start with one that is quite. Let's start with property. Okay, the risk of property, or let's say the return. Let's start with return. Okay, the business may hold onto property and sell it off at a later date in order to gain any. Yeah, in order to gain to ensure its capital gains, or they may rent at the holding to earn additional income. The risks associated with this is that the property may depreciate in value, or that tenants may damage the property. Okay, always think to yourself, those are the two things. And obviously property will need to be held to for an extended period of time, since properties only appreciate in the long term. Okay, so there we go. We'd say the hold answer property and sell it at a later date. There's 1 mark for capital gains, 1 mark for renting it out, 2 marks because we're at 2. The risk associated is the property may depreciate, 3, or that they may damage the property, 4. The property is held for long term, 5. Okay, so there's 5 marks. Let's maybe do, let's think, which ones do we talk about? Let's talk about shares. The shares may be bought at a lower price, comma, held onto and sold a later date for a capital gain, or let's use a terminology, or the shares may pay out dividends short term. Okay, what's the risk? The risk may run is that the shares do not appreciate in value, or that the business may fail and therefore they will not receive capital gain, as well as the voluntary dividend that is not a okay. Shares are predominant long term, but it is possible to short trade. Okay, so we're already at 10 marks, 5 marks, 5 marks. So let's do a short one because we don't need a lot of marks. Let's maybe do fixed deposit. Business will earn a higher interest, with the only risk being that they do not have access to this money for the foreseeable future, as this is long-term invest. Okay, so between those we've already got 1, so we've already got to 12 marks. Okay, so if you want to see some of the others, I'll show you some of the others. Okay, there they talk about increase in share prices, they talk about dividends. Okay, there they talk about equity, they talk about shares. Okay, they increase over time, so if capital grows. Okay, time frame, some people prefer they're longer. Okay, you can literally talk about any of these. Okay, it's an open question. Again, choose the one that you are most familiar with. Okay, and that brings us to the end of question 5 and 6. Okay, let's see how long the timer has gone. 54 minutes. It took us less than an hour to do 2 questions. Okay, and that's with me talking, typing, answering WhatsApps and everything. Okay, I know this is going to be a bit of a longer video, but I hope that this is helping you in some way. Any of you ever wanted, you're more than welcome to leave a comment or answer any of the questions. Okay, and tomorrow I will give you question 7. I will do a business report with you. I know you all hate this part, but okay, we will push through. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your evening and we'll chat soon. Cheers.